Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today our topic is Youth Conclave on Idea of India. There are many reasons why scholars use the word idea to describe the ideals of the country now known as India. India is an ancient civilization, but as a modern nation state, it is a very young, having taken birth in 1947 when British India was divided into India and Pakistan. Both the idea of India and its twin, the idea of Pakistan, were born in blood, the partition of British India into these two left millions dead and much bitterness on both sides. As we celebrate our 74th Independence Day this year, it is again time to reflect on what kind of country we are. India is more than the sum of its contradictions. It is a country held together, in the words of our first Prime Minister, Pandit Nehru, by strong but invisible threads, a myth and an idea, a dream and a vision, and yet very real and present and pervasive. That nebulous quality is what the enlist of Indian nationalism is ultimately left with. To borrow a phrase from Amrit Sen, it is an idea, the idea of India. But what is that idea? Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru articulate it as pluralism vindicated by history, seeing the country as an ancient writing on which successive rurals and subjects had inscribed their visions without erasing what had been asserted previously. A generation of secular nationalists echoed him, making unity in diversity the most hallowed of independent India's self-defining slogans. How did India preserve and protect a viable idea of itself in the course of the last 74 years, while it grew from 370 million people to 1.3 billion, reorganized its states, structures, and sought to defend itself from internal and external dangers, all the while remaining democratic? Certainly, the accomplishment is extraordinary and worthy of celebration. Amid India's myriad problems, it is democracy that has given Indians of every imaginable caste, creed, culture, and cause the chance to break free of their lot. There is social oppression and caste tyranny, particularly in rural India. But Indian democracy offers the victims a means of escape, and often thanks to the determination with which the poor and oppressed exercise their franchise of triumph. The significant changes in the social composition of India's ruling class since independence, both in politics and in the bureaucracy, are proof of democracy at work. But the poor quality of our country's politics in general offers less cause for celebration. In the 7 decades since independence, democracy has failed to create a single political community. Instead, we have become more conscious than ever of what divides us: religion, region, caste, language, and ethnicity. Despite having a one-party majority in the Lok Sabha, our political system has in fact become more fragmented. Politicians mobilize support along ever-narrowing lines of political identity. Caste, which Mr. Nehru believed would disappear from the social matrix of modern India, has not merely survived and thrived, but has become an instrument for highly effective political mobilization. Candidates are picked by their parties with an eye towards the caste loyalties they can call upon. Often, their appeal is overtly to voters of their own caste or subcaste, urging them to elect one of their own. The result has been the growth of caste consciousness and casteism throughout society. In many states, caste determines educational opportunities, job prospects, and governmental promotions. All too often, people say you cannot go forward unless you are a backward. And I should not mention, but yesterday only the reservations for OBCs and the economic weaker sections in the medical education has been introduced by our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. Ironically, a distinctive feature of the Nehru legacy was its visionary rejection of India's assaulted bigotries and particularism. Today, their secularism is sneered at, whether through elections or quotas. Political mobilization in contemporary India has asserted the power of old identities, habits, faiths, and prejudices. To protect the holistic spirit of India as a nation, it is of utmost importance to stand together and fight against the continual political challenges that our country faces from various fronts. To ensure that a sound and stable government system needs to be present in the country, free from the evils of corruption and the like, so as to enable the idea of India not become a forgotten one under the thirst of the ill effects of the counter-nationalism that has been plaguing the country since its independence, the seeds of some which had been sowed long before that. This is the time to remember the spirit of Guru Nanak, which led Guru Arjan to write, "No one is my enemy, no one is a stranger, I am connected with all." And Guru Gobind Singh to insist, "Recognize all of humanity as one." This is the time to remember Rabindranath Tagore's resonant verse, "Come Aryans, come non-Aryans, Hindus and Muslims, come today Englishmen, come Christians, come Brahmins, cleansing your mind, joined hands with all." For India to rise and shine once again, we need big-time reforms to be a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic in the real sense and not just on paper. And to discuss this very, very important topic today, idea of India, we have 7 youth guests with us, and we have our chief guest. And I would like to invite and introduce our chief guest of today's program. He is Dr. C.P. Abhib Rahman. Dr. Rahman is an icon of unity. He is the chairman and medical director of Unity Health Complex, Mangalore. He is an ardent campaigner of peace and harmony. He had introduced hospitality in hospital segment much before anyone even thought about it. Dr. Habib had given lot of importance for human relations. Peace and tranquility in the district and in the nation is always given a priority. He is a management philosopher, and his views about global peace initiatives are highly appreciated by international authors like Stephen R. Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Several of his early warnings about economic and political failures are now reflected in the socio-economic situations in the country and the world. Dr. Habib had visited Rashtrapati Bhavan in the year 2006 and had a long discussion with the then President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, about the mad rush of politicians for attaining and retaining power. He had suggested about educating politicians for self-realization as the only way for making Indian politics truthful and transparent. Political leaders should be exposed to higher learnings about human behavior. This can help them to discover themselves and the purpose of their existence in the world. This will only lead them to achieve peace within themselves. Country will become peaceful when leaders in the country achieve peace within themselves. Dr. Habib always compared planet Earth being a flight. It may collapse when the passengers go against peace in the flight. Welcome, Dr. Habib Rahman, on our show. Dr. Rahman, you are a visionary, I must say, who has seen what is going to happen, say, so many years back. And when you discussed with the then President Dr. Kalam in 2006, and now we are almost 15 years from that time, the things are happening which you have discussed at that time. It shows your farsightedness. Now, we would like to know your views on idea of India. Dr. Habib Rahman, please.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Lal Goel. I'm happy to be a part of your program. And when yesterday I got a call from you, I was really having some other engagements. But because of your call and your interest in the subject, what you have been doing, I thought I should not miss this opportunity. I must thank you again for doing, and I must congratulate you for your wonderful work of spreading the message of all development, peace, and progress in your area. And nice place, Mudabudri. I know you are staying there, very nice spiritual place, and doing all this wonderful program, appreciating the people of India and elsewhere. Thank you, Mr. Goel, for calling me for this program. Since yesterday night, you told me I had a very limited time to prepare myself what could be talk today. Then Mr. Paulo said, you better speak extempore, that will be better than prepared speech. The subject is quite interesting because two things I find here. One is India, our country. The second one is youth. What is the role of youth in the idea of India? It's very interesting because the whole India of what we expect, we the elders of yesterday, is what could be the India of our youth of tomorrow. So it is very relevant and very important how this youth can go ahead and play a very meaningful role in our in the part of our country's development. We have a past, and we have a present, and we have a future also. The past is well recorded, the present is uncertain, and the future is unknown. In the past, we had our civilization, our 5,000-year-old civilization with tradition, values, culture, etc., that has stood the test of time. The Indian people are a seekers people right from the beginning, welcoming everyone from different parts of the world. Right, the early days, Aryans came, then the Mughals came, then the British came, and all the people welcome and absorb a part of our system. So we have an inherent culture of assimilation to welcome to any people from around the world. That's the culture of India. And our independent India came out of efforts of our very eminent leaders of their struggle against the British rule. Their struggle against the British rule made them together to be a part of Indian liberation and eventually the foundation for India's future. Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, Abul Kalam Azad, and many others also, freedom fighters, Ambedkar, etc. All these people combinedly joined together and put their intelligence, what could be India at that time, 75 years back, and what can be a future. Mahatma Gandhi, unfortunately, could not live for long. He was a father of a nation. He still is a father of a nation, who is an exceptional individual among the Committee of Nations, who was a politician who won for the freedom, but did not rule the country. And when the West invaded in the Second World War, finishing the whole Second World War with the Japanese in bombing, etc., he fought our freedom from a new weapon, what is called satyagraha or ahimsa, and non-violence. And that has become a phenomenon for all the people around the world. But subsequently, his protege, his student, or something like companion of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who laid the foundation for India for the future. He was a Democrat, he was a freedom lover, and he is a socialist, not a communist, but almost same policy, very secular, and come from very high Brahmin community. A man of that caliber really made the foundation for this country, and because of their cooperation, understanding, a very nice constitution was done by Ambedkar, another individual of a backward community at that time, which again a part of our combination or pluralism of India. And with that, democracy, rule of the law, and a strong economic social justice, secularism, we built the country to such a global level. Today, we are well accepted a part of the World Community of Nations. Now, what can be the future of India among these competing nations around the world now? There's a book I have here with me, written by a professor in Singapore University, Kishore Mahaboni. He said, as the West lost it. That is what the book title says. All of you.
Can you just raise the yes?
Yeah.
Yes, now one can see.
You can see, as the West lost it is the book. When you read this book, it looks like that whether he's a communist or a Chinese or a Russian or a leftist, etc. But it is not so. He's a lover of the West. He loves the democracy, he loves freedom, he loves reasoning, rationality, liberty, etc. But he says, which was introduced by the West, they are slowly losing. What is an alternative? What can happen to the world in future? And what can happen to the world in future, according to him, that China and India will come forward? How India can come forward when majority of the population in poverty, the comparing to other places and all the things. So when he has forecast, a professor in a big university, that is Singapore University, and he was in UNO, etc. When he makes those statements, they all must have studied, unlike us, given such things. So by this we understand India has got a great future, a part of the world domination along with China. The West is slowly declining according to them. One new phenomena we'll understand in the 21st century is that business is where people live. About few years back, decades back, China is so backward. India is also very much backward. Anything with snakes and reptiles, etc., cows and all, bullocks and all the things, monkeys and all, they say it is all Indian culture, Indian system of living. And the West always dominating. Today it is not like that. Today something else. We have got a name in the international market, international field. And presently with all these things, we are still not stable in the among the Committee of Nations, because when we run the freedom, we had a tragedy also. The tragedy was we won the freedom with partition. And partition was not the choice of the people of India at all. Particularly for Muslims of India, it is never a choice. They never thought of it. They are a part of it. Even we have got more population than Pakistan Muslims in India. It is the failure of leadership. I call all the best thing what you have done for freedom with the failure of leadership at that time is partition to one area. It was never in a Muslim history that one Muslim asking for a separate state for them. Always they are inclusive, coming together with all the people. So that is the very basically not a part of any faith of a religion, but it is a failure of a leadership. And that can happen anywhere when you don't go, the real religious values are not adopted as a part of the leadership. The thing is, this tragedy happened, then unfortunately the conflict also started. And that conflict, what I call this partition of India into India and Pakistan was a failed leadership and a political earthquake. And that political earthquake still aftermath is even now we are suffering. Unnecessarily our resources are wasted on defense, etc., and the people are starving and dying. So whatever it is there, it is over. We can't just realize that what can be for better. Now, the thing is, but India is much better than Pakistan because it has withstood all the time last 75 years because it has maintained democracy, it has maintained transition of power from one party to another party, and there is a steady growth of our country comparing to Pakistan and other areas. So the people of India, whichever community it belongs, have got a traditional heritage of being together and working together. And that will be also the future of India in the coming decades or years. Now, what can be the role of our youth in the building of the future? Now, when you see today in this globalist world, it is a borderless world, we find multilateral and products of various kinds in everywhere. When you look to your, each of you has got a mobile there in you, and this mobile is a part of like a pen of yesteryears with everybody's market. And what you can see is either Apple products or a Samsung or some South Asian Chinese products, etc. That products is the international binding of all these manufactured things now. In comparison, that most of the thing what you will find in them are mostly Chinese products. Chinese products are seen worldwide as a part of the system which they adopt. What has got India to give products there? We have very limited things to be as a products market in the world. But one thing, without our knowledge, we are a part of the world which we are not really understood and appreciated. The 21st century started with what is called knowledge revolution. The 20th century was all the industrial products. According to Peter Drucker, we are entered to a new phenomena of history where knowledge workers will be dominating the world. And the resource of changing from finance to knowledge as a new resource for development. In that, all educated people are dominating, mainly the Western countries. But if you look to the educated Western countries, thanks to our forefathers who laid the foundation for our nation in educating our people here. When one part of the population was very hungry, no food, no shelter, there are other schools, colleges, research institutions, etc., which was built up. Thanks to the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's vision at that time, Abul Kalam Azad, the education minister, started IEM, IIT, all these things there as early 1950. And we produced not mobile phones or products, but knowledge workers. If you see around the world, you will find one Indian working in every country as a knowledge worker. Go to America, US, or Europe, or even Australia, you will find one knowledge worker, doctors, engineers, administrators, technicians, scientists working in different parts of the world. So what we have contributed to the world is not the products which we are circulating, but the knowledge working people. And who are these? The youth of yesterday. Like me, I am 79 now. So all those people, my many classmates are retired now, are doing extremely well, are done well in US. Many of our staff nurses and other doctors who are from the hospitals, started, educated and all, are also dominating many of the major hospitals in the US. It may be in MD Anderson Cancer Center. It may be in various hospitals in different places. They're all working there. And our pride is that Indian people are working as knowledge workers. The finance is changing to knowledge as a resource. And whatever the India is getting, the investment from abroad is not from any of the commercial banks. Commercial banks are collapsing in the West, hardly 3 to 4%. The FDI, FIAs coming from abroad, from West, mainly are the saving fund of these people. All these knowledge workers saving fund has come as a part of that, and that enormous amount is coming to India or any third world countries where they find a lot of opportunities for development. And this investment has come into a major area of our contribution. Now, if that was the history of knowledge workers, migration, development, and also the possibility of their investment coming back to India is a past history that can be further produced in a better way for a future India. All youth who are listening or watching are the future knowledge workers of highest caliber. Whatever you have produced, we shall go into higher quality. And it's not the quality of products what we will tell. It is the working system or the servicing system which will be dominating in the future. Because now we have found after this pandemic of COVID now, there are a lot of changes in our living system also. We have been stabilized to one place. We can't move around. The business is collapsing worldwide in different forms. And also, the standard of living is also coming down. Not, I'm talking, luxury is getting reduced. What is called a minimalized type of living is coming as a new picture. All these realities, if you are well educated, sorry, if you are well educated, well qualified, a knowledge worker, you can do a good job at your home only with your parents. It's a great future for that. Don't have to migrate like my ancestors or my classmates who went to US, Europe, and other places to find a better job. There's a lot of opportunities right in your native place, in our area, in our country, that we can excel in your work. Because now it is a networking world. From anywhere you can do anything as such. Communication instant, and traveling has become very restricted now. You don't have to think about the past for a future development. So idea of India has got a great future. The foundation which laid down by our forefathers, the founders of our country, is still strong. In the early days, when Mahatma Gandhi just said ahimsa, satyagraha, based on the traditional value of India, is something not known to any of the countries at that time. Later on, Mr. Goel may be knowing, he's expert in all this management. Many of the management thinkers have started quoting Mahatma Gandhi as a part of their system. Subsequently, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, at that time, when he had any food to eat at that time, was talking to the world for peace. Peace and peace, world peace. And a part of thinking came at that time is what is called non-aligned nation, neither aligned to the West, nor to the East, not to the Russia, communist, etc. So new thinking progress for the world peace, world development, co-living, all this part of Indian culture. We had intellectual people of our forefathers. We had a very good traditional people of spiritual leaders also there in our country, like Vivekananda, who migrated to America in 100 years back and gave an excellent speech there. So all these kind of people are a part of our heritage. And today, India has got an image in the international field. And you, the youth, who have been the fortunate to go for the future generation, and that can be done only through education. Education is very valid, very important. Invest all your things on education. Borrow money and get educated. Government is encouraging on education. Education, not learning. It is not something like you learn from other. Education means something what you are contributing and teaching later, having learned first. That is a part of education. And that is how you can excel and dominate anywhere. America is dominating because of their knowledge. The Europe is dominating because of their knowledge. The Japan is dominating because of their knowledge. You must continually upgrade your knowledge, upgrade your qualifications. Then only you can find the existence. It is not the billionaire who is well recognized. If suppose tomorrow, like the sheikhs can fade away, our other billionaires of the West can fade away, but the knowledge worker will be always present and respected. If you see there, in any of the lectures, what you can see, this is the university which gives information to the world. In every university, you will find people coming out with new ideas for development, for peace, for harmony, etc., how the world can be a better place to live. As Mr. Goel was telling, I always take this Earth as a planet, planet Earth as an aircraft. You know, if you are traveling in an aircraft, most of you must have traveled, you know, you all are tied up in with the seat belt for a certain time, 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hour, 12 hours, depending on how distance you are traveling. Anything happens to the our movement or activities there, the flight may collapse, it may crash. We also don't know, we are traveling same in the Earth. Earth is not stationary as you think, it is moving. And we are tied up with the seat belt of gravity. What is the method we have to live in now? The olden days of nations is disappearing now. We all are together in Earth planet, flying together and being together. So we must think that the people of the world are one nation, one community, one people, what I call it is one species, Homo sapiens. And we have to think collectively together and find what can be a role in the future world. Very important that what is relevant to our living in the future is depending on our cooperation, understanding, communication, etc. You see the lower animals or lower creatures, the ants, the birds, all fly together. They don't have any problem. They don't quarrel each other. No bird kills another bird. No ant destroys another ant. It is only we do that. For that, we require a higher level of understanding about ourselves and also our role on this planet Earth. I wish all the best for the youngsters, youth, because it is you who has to create the future of tomorrow, not only for India, for the world as a whole. It is the educated, the enlightened people or the youth. What you see now is to think creatively what are the methods you can adopt to have a peaceful existence. As in a flight, all are careful so that we land up smoothly from where you have started. Similarly, we must think continuously. We must live in this planet Earth smoothly as long as we live. I thank Mr. Goel for this opportunity and wish all the youth for a very bright future and a future of India. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Habib Rahman, for giving such enlightening, knowledgeable thoughts of yours. And I will just highlight 2-3 points of his. What Dr. Habib Rahman has mentioned about that we are from a very, very rich history, our civilization 5,000 years old. And on that, our basic was non-violent. We were staying all together. But when the Britishers were ruling, and when the same philosophy or everybody was thinking that we must be liberated and we must get the independence, everyone joined hands without any distinction of caste, creed. And he has given the names of Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Nehru, Abdul Kalam Azad, Ambedkar, and many more who had joined hands, and we struggled and we got the independence. But he also mentioned the unfortunate part was that we had a partition at that time. And it was, according to Dr. Habib Rahman, it was a failure of leadership because nobody wanted, and especially the Indian Muslims never wanted to go to Pakistan, or they wanted the partition. And he says that was the blot, or you can say the bad part thing happened after the independence. But still, after that, we have started doing many, many development work for India. And he says at that time, Pandit Nehru and Abdul Kalam Azad, they developed the hubs for the education. And like IIMs, IITs were created. And he gave the example. He says, today what we are purchasing or we are using mainly the products of China or some other countries. Very few contribution of our country. But he says we have contributed as a knowledge workers. Today, everywhere in the world, you will find the knowledge workers or those who are on the helm of the things because of their knowledge. So his appeal to all of the youth who are participating here and who are viewing that knowledge is the key for success. India could not manufacture many things, but what they are doing is they are giving the knowledge thing. But for that, youth has to come forward and take that knowledge, increase your education, go for more education, increase your knowledge. Then only you will be able to see to it that a good idea of India can be work out or can be practically seen. It is only possible when youth will participate. And one last, which he has mentioned, which is a favorite thing of his, he always compare the planet as a flight, aeroplane. And what he says, because I am a very frequent flyer earlier, now to COVID, no, not a single flight. He says that when you are flying, you always have a tie up with a seat belt. And if you start disturbing inside, if you all are running here and there, then flight may crash. What we have done, we have crashed this earth. We are crashing the earth because we are killing our nature. We are disturbing the nature. He says no other ants or any species are fighting with each other, but we are fighting. So we should stay all together cordially, and we must gain more knowledge so that then only we can be very proudly say that the India is going to be the global leader or India is the future. Because what he says, past is all written, present is unfortunate or whatsoever is happening today, present, but future no one has seen. So to see the good future, you all, the youth, and everyone, I must say, even all citizens should rethink, revisit, and be cordial so that a good and very the ideal India can be developed, which was which was a theme of Mahatma Gandhi, which was of Vivekanand, or all those who great personalities, and even I will say even Dr. Habib Rahman. Thank you very much, Dr. Habib Rahman, for giving your views, very, very strong and very forthright and truthful from the heart. Although he mentioned that he is going to speak, and I agree with Mr. Paulus, the chairman of Global TV, that you can speak on any topic because you are full of knowledge. And students, whenever I met him once or twice, I found him full of knowledge. It's a very, I must say, a person one should go and just sit with him and you will be enriched like anything. Thank you very much, Dr. Habib Rahman, for accepting our invitation on a very, very last moment. I'm really sorry for that, but we know that you are the only person who can talk on this subject very nicely. Thank you very much once again. Now I would like to invite my first youth guest, and she is Miss Aditi P. Miss Aditi P, you have heard what our chief guest, Dr. Habib Rahman, has mentioned. Now,
Yes,
we would like to know from you your views on idea of India. Miss Aditi Pratap, please.
yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aditi Pratap. I am pursuing my second year of engineering in electronics and communication in SMVITM College, Bantikal, Udupi. Idea of India, as stated by APJ Abdul Kalam, unless India stands up to the world, no one will respect us. In this world, fear has no place, only strength respects strength. So I believe the strength of India is the voice of Indian youth. As the fastest growing economy today, India is home to a fifth of the world's youth. Half of its population of 1.3 billion is below the age of 25 and a quarter is below the age of 14. India's um, young population is its most valuable asset. It provides India with a unique demographic advantage, but this opportunity will be or could be lost without the proper investment in human capital development. And we all know that the world today is more uncertain than ever before. As India undergoes rapid and concurrent economic, demographic, social, and technological shifts, it is very important for us to realize that India's true growth potential is met if we, the youths, participate adequately and productively in its economy. India is an independent modern country that has come into existence less than a century before, but we all should agree that it has been there long enough for us to think and look into what has been achieved since we won freedom from an alien rule. Today's India is a bundle of good, bad, and indifferent contradictions. We have witnessed numerous positive and negative achievements. As a political entity, India has faced several problems of transition with different political parties and with the way they run the nation. We have managed to continue as a democratic republic whose constitution has always stood the test of time. As quoted by Dr. Shashi Tharoor, India is a nation of belonging rather than of blood. The idea of India is one land embracing many. It's the idea that a nation may endure differences of caste, creed, color, culture, cuisine, conviction, costume, and custom, and still rally around consensus. And that consensus is around a simple democratic principle that in a diverse and rich democracy like India, you don't need to agree all the time, so long as you would agree on the ground rules of how you will disagree. Scientific and technological researches too has progressed in India. We have seen a lot of growth and advancement in the field, but it still requires working harder in this sphere. It is very sad to see how genius minds from the country forget fly abroad to seek employment opportunity and contribute to the technological and industrial advancements of those countries rather than contributing to the development of our country. So I think that India should find its way to offer good employment opportunity to deserving, and these genius individuals together can work towards the further technological advancements of the country. My idea of India also includes preservation of justice, liberty, and equality. So, when I say justice, it is social, economical, and political justice. Social justice denotes the equal treatment of all citizens without any social distinctions. Economical justice is to make provisions for welfare programs in the sectors of food, healthcare, and education. Political justice is to enable all individuals to run for elections without any discrimination or background. Equality means the absence of special privileges to any sections of the society. So I conclude by saying that the wise youths that we have out there should be taken into consideration. Some of them, though educated, are unemployed. They should be given an opportunity to expose their intelligence to the world and make themselves into someone. Some organization and firms should assist or believe in the youth to make our land a great and educated one, which will make a huge difference in society and the entire world. This will eradicate a lot of issues which are faced by Indian citizens. Thank you for letting me give my inputs and ideas on this wonderful platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aditi Pratap, for giving your views. You rightly said about positive and negative thing. Just think that there is a glass half of filled of water. There are two views. One is half filled of water, one is half empty. But there is a third, and that is there is a space where someone can fill. So you, the youth, has to fill up that space. As our chief guest has mentioned, Dr. Habib Rahman, the knowledge. If you fill up that is half glass of emptiness with the knowledge, definitely the India will be a very, very beautiful country to live. And once we will have all the knowledge here, definitely there will be no brain drain, as you have mentioned. Thank you very much, Ms. Aditi Pratap, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and he's Mr. Kashif Aman. Mr. Aman, are you there? Mr. Kashif Aman, you are there? Yes, you are there.
Good morning, sir. Yes, I'm
Good
here.
morning. So, Mr. Aman, although you joined late, so you have not heard what chief guest has mentioned, but you have heard what our earlier youth guest has mentioned. So now we would like to know
Absolutely.
your views about the idea of India. Mr. Kashif Aman, please. First, you introduce yourself and then please speak. Yeah.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kashif Aman. I'm an entrepreneur, property hunter, and I'm also HR with Province College. So I do agree with the chief guest and what Mr. Goel said, and also the youth guest, what she put across, like a lot of positive points. And I agree with her 100%. So I'm going to actually speak in a layman's language where everyone would be able to understand. So I understand Mr. Goel is trying to spread awareness, and I really appreciate his initiative. So to begin with, it is a very fascinating topic, the idea of India. So when we actually talk about idea, a lot of us are filled with mixed emotions like pride, love, respect, and that is because of the rich culture and the history that we are educated about in the past. So now, when we talk about idea of India, this was amidst the independence when the real India and the real idea of India came into existence. This was after the horrors of the participation, when everyone came to realize that India is a land of diversity, of cultures, different religion, different people, and all of us together, different religion and communities put together make a strong India. That is the real idea of India. But if you actually look at the idea of a nation, to make a nation strong, there are a couple of things that need to be in place. First of all, it is the economics, and then we need the politics. And I really apologize for being late because I was actually in a meeting with one of the retired wing commander of the Air Force, and we were discussing other things. And he actually came across, we were discussing about other topics, and he mentioned about the regime of Mrs. Gandhi, and how as a leader she was ahead of time. We agreed to it. So when it comes to politics, we need to make sure that we have the right people in governance, and we need to elect the right leaders, and we need to give them the opportunity, ample time to go ahead and correct the system. See, right now, the politics, the only thing that is it's lacking is it's lacking an idea. So the in India that we are in today was built on the foundation, the fundamentals of diversity, as I said, of different religion. So here, our nation is a one of kind. If you actually look at it, there's no other nation that coexists with each other with so many diversities of religion. None of the countries coexist so well. So that is the fundamental. When you're talking about politics, uh, that fundamental needs to be in mind. So you need to focus on India as a whole. The leaders need to be unbiased. We cannot be community centric. We need to look at India as a whole, and we need to understand, the leaders need to understand that India is a country where there are like many religions, and they need to be unbiased. The only problem that with the current political system is we find leaders who are community centric. And that is actually a fact. If you look at the leaders, they do have the potential, but when they approach the people, they go ahead and act community centric or a region centric. Yes, we do agree. They are Punjabis, they are like Kannadigas, they are Kashmiris, they are like whatnot, Bengalis, they are Gujaratis. These are all different regions. But then again, when we look at our country, it is one nation. Our ethnicity is we are Indians. That is our identity. And that should be the idea when it comes to a country. And now that is, I leave the political part of the debate to other people who are much more well versed in politics, but I'll go ahead and discuss about economics. So again, I'm going to discuss economics in a layman's language, because I personally feel economics is not just the policies or the policy makers. Yes, the policy makers play a very crucial role when it comes to the economics. Economics again is uh, for a normal person to understand. Economics is how the resources are being used for the welfare of a common man and the welfare of the country. So now I just want to educate the youth about a couple of things. There's a lot of uproar in the past in the social media. If you actually look at it, people talking about GDP. GDP is good, GDP is bad. But a common man, if he's not well versed with economics, they will not know what exactly to look into the economics. See, basically, there's one crucial factor that everyone needs to look into, which is like the fiscal deficit. Let me explain to you what exactly fiscal deficit is. Fiscal deficit is nothing but it is the government earnings versus the spendings. So this is the resources that we as taxpayers, the government is utilizing these resources, and they need to be accountable for it. That is something that a normal man needs to, a common man needs to follow up. There is like in every quarter, there's like a fiscal deficit that is like set. I mean, this is like a budget is gone ahead and allotted to the government so that they can go ahead and take care of the state and the country. So now, the only reason the economy is in a bad state is because this fiscal deficit always uh, goes ahead and exceeds the government's earnings. So that is the reason why the economy is in a bad state. Though India is a growing nation, we need to keep in check on all these things, because the little damage that is caused to the economy, that is going to like be a pain for a longer time. So that is something that we need to look into. We need to educate the youth. We need to come up with a proper a community who can actually question and keep that in check. And the second thing is per capita income. Per capita income
Please
again
be
is like,
brief.
yes, I'll be brief on that. Per capita income is like, then again, the earning of a particular individual in a particular region. So that is, and the cost of living, the lifestyle, that is what the per capita income is. So these are something that the youth need to keep a check on. They need to educate everyone, and they need to question the government and the government bodies to keep this in check, because the economy basically is dependent on these two things. These are the two important factors that the economy is dependent on. And as a nation, we can do wonders, because the population of India uh, is a lot, 1.3 billion, and a lot of like job opportunities can be provided by the government, keeping in mind the government sector, the how the government operates and everything. So if you look at the other nation who's like
Please
as
conclude.
popular, yes, yes, sir.
Yes, please. Thank you
Yes.
very much, Mr. Aman, for giving your views. You have mentioned that there are political and economic, basically, you have mentioned about the ideas. But, and you mentioned that we have a diversity in the politics. The bad part of the politics is that we are talking about the region-wise Gujarati, Punjabi, Kannadigas, and all those things. But there is a very big constituency that is of youth. You are 65% below 45 years of age. But unfortunate part is that 1952, the first parliament was having 26% representation of youth MPs below 40 years. And this parliament, that is 2019 parliament, only 12% are below 40 years. So this fault lies with the youth, you people. If you will think that there is a constituency of 65% among you, then forget Punjabi, Gujarati, Marathi, Kannadigas or Tamil, nothing. The youth population. So you can create a youth constituency yourself, and then you will have a representation of 65%. Then whether it's a physical deficit is good or bad, then the youth can control. So I think everything lies in the hand of youth. As our chief guest has mentioned, you have the potential to gain more and more knowledge, and you can put this knowledge even in the politics if you first decide you be above above those small things about the caste and creed and religion, and you vote for the youth, and then we can think that one day the below 40 years prime minister will be there in India. Thank you very much, Mr. Kashif Aman, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next youth guest, and she is Miss Neema B. Shetty. Miss Neema Shetty, you have heard what our chief guest has spoken, Dr. Habib Rahman has spoken, as well as earlier youth guest. Now we would like to know your views on idea of India. Miss Neema Shetty, please.
Yes, so can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Neema Bishetty. I'm second year Electronics and Communication Engineering student from SMVITM, Pantakal, Udupi. So idea of India. So about India, as Mr. Goel said before, India is an ancient civilization, but as a modern nation state, it is very young, have taken birth in 1947 when British India was divided into India and Pakistan. It has been 73 years since we got independence, and that is this year, that is coming August 15, 74 years will be passed since we got independence. But still, India is a developing nation. India has done a lot of progress in the field of science and technology. It has been made advance a lot in fashion sector, entertainment sector. Its achievement has been globally recognized by the world. But do we have the confidence to say that India is a developed nation? No. So I would like to initiate my idea of India as a developed nation. I would like to see some of the factors that is required for the development of the nation. First of all, I would like to talk about education. We should not use education. We should not misuse education since it is a strong weapon that fight against all the odds affecting our country. There should be compulsory education to all children up to secondary level. Every Indian child would have to study at least up to a minimum prescribed level. This would ensure total literacy in India. Next, as we all know that India is a land of villages. The government should set up the vast network of small scale and cottage industries to utilize the vast natural resources and human resources available in our country. This will create employment income will be increased, and most probably poverty will be vanished. I would like to talk about population. As we all know that India is the second most populated country in the world, and population is one of the major problem that affects the development of the country. To stop population explosion, family planning and welfare units should be set up all over nation. The rule like 2 children per parent should be initiated, and it is needed to educate each and every individual of the country that why family planning is a crime need of this hour. And next one is about unemployment, and it is also a major problem that affects the development of the country. In India, India has a situation where total number of job vacancies is much lesser than the total number of job seekers. And the reason for unemployment is again population. Population is one of the major problem that affects the growth of the nation and also for the unemployment. So India is a situation where unemployed person do not find any meaningful or gainable job, even though they have willingness and capacity to do work. A change in mental attitude is also necessary. People are not willing to take risks, or they do not like to start business or small scale industries. They think that only government, they only depend upon the government. So it's not that government, it is not possible for the government to provide employment opportunities to each and every individual. So some of the uh, facts that can be solved, or the solution for unemployment is population growth must be checked, and family planning should be initiated. People should be encouraged to go for skill-based education, and the government should promote the establishment of industries in the private sector. So, and we have the basic mindset that it is only the government's duty or government's responsibility to contribute in the development of the country. No, but it's the duty of each and every individual or the each citizen of the country to contribute as much as they can uh, contribute to the development of the country. And so that one day we can say that we are 100% confident to say that India is a developed country. So I'd like to conclude by saying this, and my idea of India is having a bright and developed country. And thank you for the opportunity. Uh, Thank you for giving the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Nima Shetty, for giving your views. And you rightly said about that the mindset has to be changed. But one point I would like to tell you, you mentioned about the population. China is having more population than us. And our chief guest knows very well that till 80s, China was called a opium country. And today you see the China changed by the youth, because it's not the population, it's the mindset, as you rightly said. And what our chief guest, Dr. Habib Rahman, has mentioned, the knowledge. If you have the knowledge, impart that knowledge. But knowledge means you have to change that. You, as you rightly said about the government jobs, whatsoever job you are getting, there is no unemployment. Unemployment is in our thinking, our brain. If we are thinking, if we have become an engineer, it doesn't mean that we can't do other works. But the problem today in India is that whosoever studies something, he feels that I will not do this job. This is below my dignity. But you see the West, forget China, in US or any other country, the children from the age of 12, they start working. They work in the petrol pump, the restaurants and other places. It is not for the money only. It is the self-dependent. There will be no ego. In India, I'm sure no one of us will allow I'm talking of us, means the senior citizens, will allow their children, and even the child doesn't want to work to a place at 12 or 13 years, even not 18 years age, that he or she can go and work on a petrol pump. Very few will be allowed. They say, no, it's our below dignity. So the mindset, what you rightly said, has to be changed. If we will change the mindset, India has a potential. Treat this population as an asset, not the liability. If we will treat this as an asset, India can be on the top, far better than, because our cultural values are far higher, far stronger than any other country. Thank you very much, Ms. Nima Shetty, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next youth guest, and he is Mr. Prasanjit A. Wagmare. Mr. Wagmare, you have heard our chief guest, Dr. Habib Rahman, as well as earlier youth guest. Now, we would like to know your views on idea of India. Mr. Prasanjit A. Wagmare, please.
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Myself, Prasenjit Wagmare from Yashwantrao Chavan School of Social Work, Satara. I have completed my MA in Political Science, and right now I'm pursuing my Masters of Social Work from Satara. I basically live in Thane, and right now I'm studying from Satara. So I have experience in both the urban and rural areas. So yes, I would like to add a few points in what Miss Nima said. That is, yes, education is the base of everything. I mean, literally everything. So we also know that India is a developing country, but the education sector should be more developed. Okay. Still many students are deprived. Students, not we can say children are deprived of that education. As our constitution said that it is the right of every child to get free and compulsory education, but it definitely did not say what type of education. So we definitely follow constitution that yes, we have to give education to children, but we need to think and rethink that what type of education we should give. That means not only academic type of education or that from book only, that is history, geography, and mathematics. Apart from that, we have to give that skills which will be useful for these children in their future. Because if I'm working in technology, or let's think if I'm working as an engineer, so what I have learned regarding Akbar and all these leaders or all these things, so there is of no use now. But definitely we have to learn this history so that we can continue and create more history. But apart from that, we don't have to stick on that only. Skill development is very much necessary for today. We can say that if someone is graduating, whether it's from arts or whether it's from commerce, so when when the time comes regarding its job, no one sees the educational background. This is whether your tally is completed, whether your MSCIT is completed, or whether you can type. So these skills should be teach from that childhood age only. And apart from that, right now Olympics are going on. So in school time, so students should not be restricted to the academic or books only. The sports education is also should be included in that, because we from our childhood heard that India won only 9 or 10 medals overall, whether China crosses 100 and 150 medals. So at the child, we didn't know what was the reason, or whether these players can play or not. But as we grow up, we came to know that the sports education or the sports should be included in this education, and not only the academic and all. So yes, apart from education, I would like to say about gender. So right from starting of first school, that is started from for girls, Mahatma Phule and Savitribai Phule. So the legacy we should continue. And right now we can't only think about women. The transgender community should be added in this process also. Women are developing. This is definitely the good sign of India, but still there are various loopholes. But apart from that, the transgender community should also be come forward, and we have to let them come forward, so that the proper liberty, because we are talking about the 74th freedom and independence of India, but really India is independent. India is independent, maybe we can say from borders, but what about these communities? These are not independent yet, transgender and all communities. So the focus should be on that only, that also. And we also have to minimize that gap of urban and rural community, because minimizing gap doesn't mean that we have to construct buildings in rural areas and now we are developed. No, we have to teach. We have to teach everything which we are teaching at urban level to that student of rural level, because many times what happens, there is we can say inferiority factors are there in rural children, because I have seen and I have experienced these factors, because seen both the cases, urban and rural. So we can add that English language or various other language to education of these rural area children, because many times what happens when it comes to English, so they their type of you can say they underestimate their self. There is a type of inferiority factor in them, that we can't speak English. Okay, they are understanding the English, but they can't speak English because they have neglected, not they, but their teachers have neglected the fact. So if we add that English or other languages or other quality of teaching in rural areas just like urban areas, so we will definitely see the rural area children speaking on to the platform like this that we are seeing now. So we can imagine that what if rural area children is speaking in English and uh, keeping their thoughts and opinions in front of all of us. So that area I will suggest that this is important. And education, yes, and education and rural area, we can say there are
Please be
lots of
brief.
okay, sir, yes, sir. Yes, we can say that education is very much important, that addiction and superstitions. So I know these two types of very much problems, that addiction and superstitions in rural areas. So education will be the reason to eradicate these addictions and superstitions and many more such things, to make our India more developed. And we know that India is a rich country with poor people, but we have to make that rich country with rich people, not only financially, but socially, politically, and everything. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prasenjit Wagmare, for giving your ideas. Yes, what you said, that we want to see that everyone should be rich, politically, socially, as well as the knowledge-wise. But one point which you are insisting or emphasizing was education. I am very pleased to inform you that last year on the same day, the National Education Policy 2020 was released. And yesterday, our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has officially put it in the Gazette. So it has been gazetted yesterday. And if you study that, because you being a political science student, it's an interesting thing. If you will just study and go through the National Education Policy, it's really something. If it will be implemented, I can say it's a revolutionary change in the education. Whatsoever points or reservations you have raised, it's all covered in that. So that is very, very important thing. Now, only thing is, who is going to implement this education policy? Not only the government, the students, the youth. So as our chief guest has mentioned, you have to take the knowledge. They have come out with a scheme, they have come out with an education policy, but the youth has to come forward. Youth has to think that it is not politicians or those leaders' India, it is your India. You are going to be the present and the future. We all are spent force. We will be there for another 5 or 10 years or so, but not more than that. You are the real India. So once you are real India, you have to just go through that education policy. And when you are ready, you can inform the Global TV, Mr. Paulus. We can have again, we will call, and we will, because we have done lots of program on that, and we want the youth should understand what the government has come out. So government is coming out, whichever party, we are not critical to one party or other party. Everyone tries to give the best. And last but not the least, you have mentioned about that we should not read the history in details. Yes, we should not. It is also mentioned in this national policy. But please never forget the legacy, what you are. If you will not read them, you will never understand what is India. India is, as our chief guest has mentioned, we have 5,000 years of civilization, and what we have, those great people have done. If we will follow even 1% what they have done, the nation will change. Thank you very much, Mr. Prasanjit Wagmare, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Miss Saloni U. Prabhu. Miss Saloni Prabhu, you have heard what our chief guest, Dr. Habib Rahman, has mentioned, as well as earlier youth guest. Now we would like to know from you your views on idea of India. Miss Saloni U. Prabhu, please.
Good morning. My name is Saloni Umesh Prabhu. I am currently studying in 9th grade from St. Teresa School in Bangalore, and I am very honored to be here today. India is a developing country, but the label each day is peeling off. We have been making a great breakthrough and are advancing forward. The COVID vaccine is doing its job and keeping the people vaccinated safe. And we are also grateful to the frontline workers for doing their job. When I think of India, I think of the flourishing culture and the fascinating religion and the very learned people here. But there are some things that we are ignoring in general. It's not considered important to all people, but it's one of the main problems. I completely agree with what Mr. Prasanjit said. 90% of the Indian education system is focused on the scope of research and practical learning for the pupils. We are not given the full opportunity to explore our interests or creative learning because we are bound to the specific syllabus and are not encouraged to go out and pursue our heart's desire. The basic education of students of school doesn't enlighten or prepare us for what's coming or what we want to do. Say there is a person who dreams of participating in the Olympics. For such circumstances, we are either told to go back to our studies or there are no good doors of opportunity. There is no proper training facilities for such things. Because of the lack of chances, support, and sponsors or training, we are forced to give up and go back to our studies. It's either study or become a failure. It feels like there is no other way than to just study, and get good grades and continue the loop. Studying is important. I'm not saying it's not, but it doesn't have to be in such detail that it just becomes useless in the future. There are students who are idealists and dreamers. Why should they have to feel that the career goals that are considered practical are the only ones that can be achieved? There is always that pressure to succeed in every area of life and finding the time to do it all. Young people are expected to be successful right from the start. But is studying the only way to be successful in life? There should be services providing all students equipped with practical life skills, improved confidence in personal decision making, increased self-esteem, overcoming gender barriers, and enlarging their access to information and services on reproductive health, nutrition, and overall wellness. There should also be a focus on the acceptance on the LGBTQ plus community. We should not be told that such people are delusional or are confused. I am sure they are not. They are very sure of who they are. And if there is someone who is part of the community, we should not try to change them because that is who they want to be. What I hope from India and from the schools is to provide more enlightenment about values and encouraging confident decision making and not only tying the life of a student to the syllabus. There is much more to learn than from just textbooks. It's the 21st century. Getting a good grade is not going to set our future. There is much more things the youth wants to do and wants to achieve. To conclude, the ultimate goal should not be to limit the choices of students and for India to know that even if we have a good degree, without any other skills, we can't do anything than just say, I have a degree. It doesn't guarantee anything. Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. That is all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Ms. Saloni. And I must appreciate that at this young age, you are dreaming and you are thinking for the idea of India. But one thing, as I mentioned to Mr. Prasanjit, the new education, the National Education Policy 2020, it is covering everything. As you mentioned, it is giving a multiple exit and entry. So once you will be after your 12th, if you do your graduation 1 year, and then you can exit for 2 years, 3 years, do whatsoever you want to do. Again, you can join. Again, they will allow you to say pursue the next year. So like that. So all these things are covering. But again, I will insist, it all depends on you, youth. If you people will be seeker of the knowledge, then the day is not far when India will become what Mahatma Gandhi, what Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru or Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, they thought what they wanted, that India is there. It is only that, like one of the panelists mentioned about the mindset change. Yes, we have to change the mindset. And there, as we say, the charity begins from home. The mindset has to be changed from your home. You have to change your first mindset. If your mindset is okay that we have to do this, you have to convince, not force, convince your own family that please change the mindset. I want to be a sports person, or I want to do this, and convince them. And once you will convince them, when there is a way, a will, there is a way, you will get whatsoever you want to. Thank you very much, Ms. Saloni. Now, all the best for your future, and God bless you. Now, I would like to invite our chief guest, Dr. Habib Rahman. Dr. Rahman, you have heard our youths. They are full, vibrant, dynamic. They have a very, very good ideas, far better than at least me. But they not been properly directed. Today, the condition, what I am seeing, I am doing so many youth conclaves and the conference, that they are having bit misdirection, which might be because of the condition in the country prevailing. They've come, sometimes they feel so much tensions are there, some fighting is there, communalism is there. But after all, our country is a great country. And so we would like to know your now concluding things for what you found about today and what you guide them, and your blessings to all the youth who are participating and who are watching us. Dr. Habib Rahman, please. Please unmute. Please unmute. You have to just unmute.
It's okay. It's audible.
Yes, please. Please.
And that's stopped it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Goel. Again, I must tell you, you are talk to youth, and you are also a part of youth. The program which you are doing with the youth for so many months, maybe, I don't know, years, something really thinking that youth mindset, you said, no? So it's a very good program. I must really compliment you for taking so much time and energy. I know to do this one every day is something unimaginable. I don't know. At this age, that particularly, I'm standing such a beautiful but alone. It's a great thing, Mr. Goel. Thank you and appreciate that. Now, today's youth has been also equally good. They have expressed their own opinions in whatever level they understood there. And for the youth, I must tell them that the life, or most of the people have their ages, and I'm 70, some students are 20, 80, I mean different ages and all, no? But there is another way of looking to the lifespan, that is in decades. The first 10 years is the early infancy, 10 to 20 year college level, 20 to 30 complete the education, 30 onwards, next decade, you start working there. 40, you have married and children. Then 40 to 50 children grow. Then you become grandparents, retire, and etc. See, so you are the prime of your life, youth. If I ask you, when was your best years of your decades? You ask me, I'll say it is between 15 to 30 years. At that time, you was the best time of your energy. There's nothing to obstruct you. You can, all the cricket sportsmen you have seen are less than 30 years, 20 years. Nobody can find above 30 as a batsman. See? So you have a lot of energy. See, this energy we should utilize for the best of yourself and the country as a whole. Now, that is one area I would like to enlighten all the youth. The second important point, or 2-3 points I have here in conclusion, one is the knowledge. The knowledge is very important. Wherever you find knowledge, they are advanced. it is like a light in the darkness. Why the West is so advanced? Because they have knowledge. Why Africa is not advanced? Because they don't have knowledge. India was so for so many decades back, 1930 and all the things. We are very backward, but today we have knowledge. So acquire knowledge to the best of the possibilities. And mind you, this is not the time for me to talk. There are two types of knowledge. That is, one is called the acquired knowledge that is coming from right from early days of nursery school to high school to colleges to research foundation. That is one knowledge, acquired knowledge. There is another knowledge also, which many may agree, few may not agree, is what is called the divine knowledge. The divine knowledge is not from what you find from the colleges and all. That is what you learn from your home with your parents, maybe scriptures, various scriptures of different religions. Hindus have got their own scriptures, Christians have their own scripture, Bible, Muslims have got Quran. All these scriptures, whatever maybe your understanding, is focusing on human beings. It is not focusing like our acquired knowledge. So what is very important, any civilization will sustain, particularly in future, if your acquired knowledge civilization is built on the divine knowledge foundation. And India is a very rich country with so many spiritual knowledges and religions. They can be a really great country in the world. What has been happened to the West is they sidelined this divine knowledge, focused on acquired knowledge, and developed the civilization. There is one area about knowledge. I'm not going to talk more about that because there's a different occasion altogether. The second most important point I would like to have this is education. What all you talked about education. We must start a new institution. We have colleges, we have institution, we have got medical college. In Mangalore, there are 7 medical colleges. See, it's a record in the history, in our world records, there's no such 5.5 to 6 lakhs population has got 7 medical colleges. There are engineering colleges, there are law colleges, so many colleges. We don't want any more, but we must have a new institution. I talked this earlier, as he said, with our former late President APJ Abdul Kalam, when I had a chance to meet in the Rashtrapati Bhavan, is we must start a new institution. Please forgive me if anybody is getting offended. See, is an institution for politicians, an educational institution for politicians. We don't blame the politicians. They are not having, they have got degrees. Some people have got degree, highly qualified engineers, lawyers, and all things. But they don't have an education to govern to the best of their capacity for the people. They are educated to or to use their knowledge to govern themselves, either individual or their parties or their group or the state, etc., etc. It's not so. We have to serve the whole humanity as such, the whole people, our citizens of the country together. So the politicians should be educated, and they should be, we don't, another thing I want to tell you, don't blame the politicians. See, we should not blame the politician because they are the people who have come to public life. If you ask any politicians, life is miserable. They all enjoy one side, the other side, they have a lot of problem, unable to, chief minister changing, that minister getting elected, and the party is getting lost. All these things are in their head. It's not so easy. But they have come to the public service, so let them also be in a public interest. So there is another thing, institution for the politicians. The third very important point I would like to have the idea of India is development of our rural area. See, one of the major problems, basic living things are not there. If you have read some of the writings of APJ Abdul Kalam, which he said, providing urban facilities to the rural area. He has said that. Whatever the facilities they enjoy in the cities, same thing should be available in the villages. In the villages, they don't have food to eat. They are not eaten for days. They have been starving. Their children don't have a place to go for education there. There are no good roads, no electricity, communication, all is very difficult. But things are changing now. Now we must think the village or rural development, how the village can be developed in its own way. Don't have to become another Mumbai or Delhi or something. There is a wrong concept. should not think of comparing to big cities. Those cities are not a good place to live in future. You must be able to, like Goel is doing, he's living in a beautiful farmhouse, coming from a big city. So he has abandoned the city and come and living in a village, beautiful village, very nice resort he has there, doing all these things as a for the public interest. He's a very rich man. I don't know why he wants to do all this. It's a wonderful job. No, yes, a model, he has come back to the villages and trying to develop the village. Now, the thing is, there should be a reverse migration now. We all go to cities for better life. Now, the people should go from cities to the villages, urban to the rural area, because things have changed a lot in the last so many decades. Now, all the facilities are available in the villages now. The electricity is available to a great extent, not full. And also communication is instant now, the satellites, etc. Phones are available, television is there, schools are there. So it's a better place to live healthily also because you get good oxygen, see, in villages, and also less pollution. So things should go from development of the villages or rural development should be focused for the future generation. And in that, I say land use. You know, land, plenty of lands we have all over the country there, and most of the people are concentrated on the cities. See, it's once the shift takes place from cities to the villages, we'll have a lot of area to do our work, land use or land development beyond agriculture. Your institutions, your organization, your factory can be done in villages and keep away from the cities. There is a migration to the rural area will be a big part of development and mainly the land use. And the land use should also beyond agriculture. Agriculture number one, but beyond that, whatever you can do in the land, also you develop that. Then another important thing is, you don't have to become doctors, engineers, all big things, you become a skilled worker. See, the majority of our world now requires skilled workers now. Given at a time, you require, now pandemic, all of you have seen, there is dearth of doctors, engineers, nurses around the world. They call health workers now, frontline workers and all. And these are all not highly qualified doctors. They can't do anything much. What is being done by these people are all technocrats, health qualified technocrats. So like that in every area, we require skilled workers. And that is a great demand in the future. And that is going to be another area of education and development. I think these are some of the thoughts which came to my mind as I was listening. And most of you are very good speakers and there's a great future for you because all of you are thinking on that lane, what can be there. One thing, last point I would like to share with you is have an open mind. One of the biggest problem of this is prejudices. See, you are not like him or I'm not like you. It's not like that. You are what yourself. You have got a great potential in you and you don't have to compare to anybody as such. You can contribute to a lot of an area which you are interested. So don't have prejudices either, against the youth to the parents or the caste to communities, language, regions, etc. All these things are boundaries. If you can transcend all the things, you can excel in your area of undertaking in your lifetime, which you can have very great future for yourself as well as the country. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very much, Dr. Habib Rahman, for giving such enlightening, knowledgeable thoughts of you and blessings to all the youth. I'm sure all the youth today has been enlightened very much. Those who are participating, those who are watching, and not only youth, all the citizens of the country and globally, they are very much enriched today. Thank you very much, Dr. Habib Rahman. So today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor in our evening program, where we are calling one of the chief guest who is going to narrate his own autobiography, those who have achieved in their life span. And today my chief guest in the program called Kal Aaj Aur Kal Lal Goel ke Sang at 4:30 p.m. is Professor Dr. Sharat Kumar Goel, industry professional, academician, mentor, international trainer and researcher. He is the director of Higher Education Institution, IIHS, Delhi NCR. So please tune in for Kal Aaj Aur Kal Lal Goel ke Sang at 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much, Chief guest Dr. Habib Rahman for joining and
Thank
giving
you.
enlightening so much. And thank you all the youth guests. Please keep learning, acquiring knowledge. The day will come that India will be a global leader, and it's not far. Thank you very much. Thank you all.